Mr. President, we have before us today a once-in-a-generation opportunity to deliver legislation to create a safer, stronger, and more prosperous America. With one bill, we can deliver on a number of priorities: tax relief for hardworking Americans, economic growth, a stronger national defense, a more secure border, a more reliable energy supply, and reductions in waste, fraud, and abuse across the federal government. Mr. President, we seldom have an opportunity to take the kind of action that we're planning to take on just one of these priorities, let alone all of them. When was the last time we considered legislation like this to give a $150 billion boost to our defense spending? Any serious declines in our military readiness, I should say after serious declines in our military readiness, we are on the verge of notable investment in a number of critical military priorities: shipbuilding, missile defense, defense manufacturing capacity, critical munitions, drones and counter-drone technology, an expanded Air Force fighter fleet, nuclear modernization, U.S. infrastructure in the Pacific, and more. And while it's no substitute for robust yearly defense funding, our bill represents a real chance to start to turn our readiness deficiencies around. There is no time, Mr. President, in which we can afford to let our military readiness slide. But above all, at this time of increased global instability, it is especially vital that we ensure that our military has the resources it needs to deter our enemies and defend our country. So just by itself, the National Defense section of our reconciliation bill represents a historic opportunity. And that's just one section of the bill. We're also looking at historic investment in border security, $160 billion. Yeah, that's right, $160 billion to undo the damage done by the Biden border crisis and secure our border for the long term. More Border Patrol agents, more immigration and customs enforcement agents, funding to complete the border wall and implement critical border technology. Mr. President, it's all there. We have the opportunity to take the gains the Trump administration has made in securing our border and deporting criminals and make that progress permanent. Like the defense section, the border security provisions of this bill would be an impressive and historic piece of legislation all on their own. But again, they're just one section. We're also looking at the chance to increase our energy independence, making us safer and more prosperous. And we're looking at an exceedingly rare opportunity to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, including the first real entitlement reform in decades. Reform that will put these programs on a more sustainable path for today's recipients and for tomorrow's. Once again, impressive opportunities all on their own. But even more incredible when you consider that we're looking at the prospect of being able to do all of these things in one bill. And then, of course, Mr. President, there's the tax relief. Talk about a section of the bill that would be an achievement all on its own. We're looking at the opportunity to make the 2017 tax relief permanent. That means permanently extending the lower tax rates, permanently extending the increased standard deduction, and not only permanently extending the enhanced child tax credit, but enhancing it even further to $2,200 per child and linking it to inflation so its value will never go down. But not just that. There's more. We're eliminating taxes on tips for millions of tipped workers. We're eliminating taxes on overtime for millions of hourly workers. We're putting in place an auto loan interest deductible when you buy a new car manufactured here in the United States. And we're increasing the standard deduction for millions of low and middle-income seniors, making their retirement a little easier and more prosperous. We're also implementing a program to create savings accounts for newborns with an initial deposit of $1,000 to help parents save and invest for their children's future needs. And Mr. President, that's still not all. We're also looking at the chance to grow our economy by making the rest of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act business tax relief permanent. That means lower effective rates for small and medium-sized businesses. The job-creating 199A small business deduction, and full expensing for new equipment and for domestic research and development. And we're adding to the 2017 tax relief with new pro-growth provisions, like a provision to boost domestic manufacturing by implementing full expensing for new factories and factory improvements. Thanks to the pro-growth provisions in our legislation, we can expect to see GDP as much as 4.9% higher as a result of our bill. And that, of course, Mr. President, means more jobs and opportunities and better wages for hardworking Americans. Mr. President, Republicans made some promises to the American people last November. We promised to grow our economy, to extend the 2017 tax relief and prevent a $4 trillion tax hike on the American people, to secure our border and enhance the safety of our communities, to unleash American energy. We made those promises, and the American people elected us to office. Now they expect us to deliver. The opportunity is before us to deliver on our promises and make America safer, stronger, and more prosperous. 53 members will never agree on every detail of legislation. Let's face it. But Republicans are united in our commitment to what we're doing in this bill: securing our border, strengthening our national defense, growing our economy, unleashing American energy, cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, and preventing tax hikes on hardworking Americans. Mr. President, it's time to get this legislation across the finish line.